Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. Unfortunately, Gene Hackman has died. Now, the reason why I'm covering this story, this is mostly probably covered by entertainment news, but the reason why I have this on my broadcast is not because of some of the iconic films that Gene Hackman's in, Superman, Bonnie and Clyde. There's another one that he was in, The French Connection, Unforgiven. I remember some of his films. Yep. Seems as though that I'm getting old myself. But nonetheless, um, Gene Hackman being, 95 years of age, and his wife, Betsy Aqua, um, and their dog were found dead in their Santa Fe, New Mexico home. And authorities have not yet determined the cause, but they said no foul play is suspected. So Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog are all dead, but no foul play is suspected. Maybe it's carbon monoxide poisoning. Maybe they all ate something that didn't agree with them, but all three of them are dead. Or did Gene Hackman die first and then his wife and dog opt to not eat, so they die from starvation and malnutrition? I don't know. I'm just asking these questions. And that's the only reason why I have, because certain cases has kind of sparked my interest, that everyone's dead, but no foul play is suspected. Okay. But if you guys don't know anything about Gene Hackman, I used to watch a couple of his movies back in the day. But yeah, he was born back in the 30s, 1930. He served in the United States Marine Corps. Another reason why he was on my radar, fellow Marine. But again, some of his iconic roles was Bonnie and Clyde, The French Connection, Unforgiven, The Conversation, Superman, Hoosiers, and The Royal Tenenbaum. So he played in some good films back in the day, if you guys are old enough to remember some of them. But very tragic story. And again, I just kind of had my eye on this one because everyone dead, even the dog, and there's no foul play. Yeah, that seems very, very strange in my opinion. Nonetheless, the Chief Justice John Roberts issued a last-minute order halting a directive that required the Trump administration to pay $2 billion in foreign aid by midnight. He said, "Oh, wait a minute. We're going to put a hold on this so the Trump administration could file an appeal, because the administration argues that the fund should be reallocated. But of course, a lot of the critics are saying that this delay could disrupt international development programs. And I want to know, what do you guys think? Should the U.S. cut foreign aid, or should they allow it to be free flowing, especially when we're referring to billions and billions of dollars? That's the question I have for you guys. We already know what it's about. Now, again, the Trump administration has begun preparation for widespread layoffs in federal agencies. Thousands of probationary employees have already been dismissed, and more job cuts are expected very, very soon. And the goal is to achieve a leaner federal workforce, according to administrative officials. That's what a lot of these people are saying. We're trying to streamline, cut the waste from government, back down of all these very large government things that we've been doing, and open up free trade and free this and free that. But again, the critics say that this will hurt government services and weaken federal oversight. I want to know what you guys think about that as well, because some of the targeted departments, and I said this yesterday, that the EPA, they're looking to cut up to 65%. They're going to have 65% of staff reduction, meaning a lot of people are going to get fired. And that, in my opinion, because how large the EPA is, will significantly impact its operation. And don't forget, Donald Trump was always stating how he had to pay $50,000 to have an ecological report or environmental report of someone coming out, and he had to pay that to the government because of his properties, his real estate, etc. And again, by cutting the force by 65%, it's going to allow a lot of real estate investors to bypass a lot of the stringent government restrictions and regulations because of the lack of employment, or the lack of people rather in position to come out and do some of these environmental studies to make sure that the ecosystem is not going to be out of whack. You're building on contaminated land, or you're going to cause contamination because of the construction you're doing on particular land. So again, we're going to see how this is going to pan out. Is this going to affect America? It's going to affect the environment negatively? Or will things go on as they always have been, in that the EPA was already too big to begin with? So we're going to see those things. Now, The exemptions of a lot of these federal employee reductions, the exemptions are positions related to law enforcement, military, and border security and public safety. Those positions are exempt from these federal government cuts. And I just want to know, are these layoffs necessary, or is this an attack on federal workers? Because that's what a lot of people are asking. But here's another thing I have for you guys this morning. Because I thought about this and I said this in a very jokingly manner probably about a week ago. But I want to follow up on this because, again, a lot of these federal employees are getting fired, laid off, furloughed, etc. But have any of them ever thought about some of their same talents and skills and backgrounds going to one of the law enforcement federal agencies? Because once you're in the federal workforce, you can move around more easily than someone outside of the federal workforce. And when I think about, take for instance, the FBI, Kash Patel being the new director, he may need new field agents, new FBI police. FBI also have positions for auto mechanics, computer scientists, data analysts, and a lot more. They should be looking inside of some of these federal employees instead of crying foul. My thing is, okay, it's a propensity, it's a possibility that I'm going to get laid off. Let me start looking at other positions where they're not making cuts that may still need my skills, my talents, and or my experience. What about the NSA, the national security agencies? They need analysts, they need engineers, they need mathematicians, and other positions like physicians, linguists, computer scientists. Homeland Security, they need people in cybersecurity, immigration, customs, emergency management. Maybe some of them people from the EPA can look for jobs in emergency management and Homeland Security. What about the DEA? They need special agents that deal with investigations for narcotics and contraband and illicit funds. The ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Federal Organization, they need people who dealing with bomb, explosive, and federal agents and CIS. They need all these positions that could be filled. All these positions that could be filled. Me as a federal worker, if I was a federal worker, I'll be looking to other organizations that may require my skills or need my skills that they're not making the cuts. Because in a lot of these organizations, they need area security officers, criminal investigators, information security specialists, physical security specialists, security analysts. They need all these different types of people that some of your job duties and or titles and positions may make you qualified. Again, so I'll be looking into a plethora of different places before I start crying foul against the federal government of what they're trying to do. Because again, this is what the American people voted for, regardless if you know it or not. Now, this one is a wild one because a federal worker sent Elon Musk a very explicit email after Musk asked employees for weekly reports on what they accomplished. And the response, a brutally sarcastic rant about wasting taxpayer dollars, ending with a profanity-laced sign-off. Now, Musk supposedly laughed it off, but the government agency involved is considering disciplinary action. Now, when we look at some of the contents of the emails that were essentially sent, the employee sarcastically outlined mundane tasks, criticizing the perceived inefficiency within the agencies. And again, Musk's reaction to this was amusing, but it did spark broader discussions about workplace culture and employee morale. And so I want to know what you guys think. Should the employee be fired or praised for the honesty? Now, again, Elon Musk is not part of these federal organizations, but they did send, who is selected, appointed, confirmed by an executive order of a department that is temporarily standing to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse in the government, richest man in the world. I don't know. I just throw all these little key points inside of the see if it adds up to anything. I don't know yet. We're going to see how these outcomes are revealed rather. But nonetheless, I wonder what you guys think. Leave that in the comments below. Now, this one, I know a lot of people may not be for or against this, but I had to point this out because Thailand is deporting dozens of Uyghurs to China. Yeah, they are now getting into deporting a lot of people who are illegally in their country. I wonder if Donald Trump has sparked this for Thailand. I wonder if he sparked this for Thailand because Thailand has deported over 40 Europe Muslims back to China despite global outcry and fears that they will face harsh persecution. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe that most people in China, their religion is Buddha, or Buddhist rather. That is why I believe in these people are Muslims. And I don't believe that Muslims fare too well in China. I could be wrong, but human rights groups are furious, warning that these individuals could be detained or worse upon arrival in China. The Chinese government denies any wrongdoing. And so the question, should the U.S. step in to protect UN refugees? I know that's a lot of questions that people do, because anytime people are done wrong, America has always stepped in and butted our nosy nose in like, we'll help you guys out. But let me answer this question just for me. Very opinionated. No, I don't think we're going to step in. I don't think the Trump administration cares one bit iota. And the only reason why I ask that, because when you kind of read these stories, right, there's a lot of information to be covered. I'll read a lot of these stories, and then all of a sudden they'll start to name the United States of America just out of thin air. They will name the United States of America out of thin air. They name the United Kingdom, Kingdom of Thailand. They're just naming us because we have always been the country that taken all these asylum seekers and refugees from around the world. But Trump, believe it or not, is saying no more. He's saying no more. And I will have to agree. We can't be the world's dumping ground because they can't get their affairs in order. Now, in a major immigration policy shift, the Department of Homeland Security has launched a new registry for immigrants living in the U.S. illegally, so illegal immigrants. Those who fail to register could face criminal charges, as I told you guys just the other day. And supporters say that this is a necessary step for national security, but immigrant advocates call it a tool for mass deportation. And the question is this the right approach, or is this going too far? And this reminds me of the firing of Joy Reid. Now, Joy Reid, if I'm not mistaken, I thought originally, I think I misspoke in one of my broadcasts thinking her background was from Jamaica, but I believe her background is from the Congo in Central Africa. But as I look about this, I don't think people understand that Black Americans never really sided with Joy Reid and some of the things that she was touting. A lot of the things that she was speaking upon, being a Democratic shield for the Democratic Party with a lot of these liberal, very demonstrous sort of legislation they were trying to pass, and the agenda to push the LGBTQ and transgenderism on our children. Whatever you identify is fine. That's your freedom. But when it comes to kids who are very impressionable, and by the way, people say, oh no, gender surgery should wait until they're 18, or gender surgery should wait till they're 21. I have to go a little bit further. I have to look at it very scientifically. Gender assigning surgery should not be allowed in the United States of America until the age of 25. Why? Because we have dozens, if not hundreds of studies that show that the Homo sapien, that means the human being, brain is not fully developed. The frontal lobe is not fully developed until the age of 25. That is my belief, okay? Again, we have to be very intelligent. We are the most social, intelligent creatures, animals that walk the earth. So we should act and respond as if we are. So again, going back to Joy Reid, she had pushed a lot of these things. How is this connected? Because we're talking about immigrants and how immigrants, especially those who look like me from other countries, have come over here and sided with certain legislations and agendas that have been pushed on the Black community to paint us in a negative light. Like organizations that are Caribbean or African ran, like the Shade Room, and political pundits that are in media, like a Roly-Poly Martin, that his lineage is from Haiti and Joy Reid is from the Congo. But let me not just say things that has no substance. Let me say things that carry weight. And I think the best way to do that is have them to speak to you with their own words, meaning giving you guys an example. I want you guys to listen on this. It's very quick, but this is to, again, double down and verify the point I'm trying to make. Very, very important here, ladies and gentlemen.
Remember when Joy Reid said this?
Yeah. The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
Now, this woman here is about to go off on a tangent, and I agree with her 1,000%. What are you talking about, award-winning book? Who cares? How is this going to affect our children? Like, again, I don't want you guys to look at all Black people the same. We're not a monolith. Just like I don't look at all white people the same, all Asian people the same, all Hispanic people the same. Please, a lot of these people are not foundational Black Americans. They haven't been here since 1526, 1619, 1776. Some of these people just got here a generation ago. Because this is not who we are at all.
What a tragic story of a young man who's anal raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. In what context is a strap-on acceptable for public school? I mean, that's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name of the
remembered
author
very
doesn't
specific names.
Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about
Here's my
strap.
question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. What I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that those aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
This book is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right?
Well, let me just comment very quickly. You don't have to be an expert for you not wanting your child to read that book. Now, could it be a book that is for 18 and old for someone to tell their story? Absolutely. But to be labeled as a children's book and have that in schools for children to read? Absolutely not. It's going to have your child asking questions that they shouldn't even know until they're out of high school, essentially. And they probably found out most about this in high school. But a children's book for kindergartens and middle schoolers? Absolutely not. We can read that experience once the mind has developed just a little bit more. She's absolutely crazy.
Right. To say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to?
Wait a minute. What that has to do with anything? If they liberal, conservative, LGBTQ? Are you telling me that LGBTQ parents raise their children to be part of the LGBT community? Is that what she's stating? Like, why does anybody think children, again, are the most innocent and precious commodity that we have in this world? Our children, we protect them. We will die for them. We will fight for them. And you're telling me now, she didn't say it blatantly, but it's almost like she's implying being a liberal or being a LGBTQ parent that you should allow your child to read this book. What are you talking about? Is that grooming them to be something when they mature, or have them to want gender assigning surgery before the age of 25, 21, 18? Is that what she's stating? Again, don't let these people fool you because they may sound, no, I can't say that. They don't sound intelligent. I can't say that.
To say they can't.
So again, we're talking about
and each parent, each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read. Right. What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story? Why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member. They've experienced
And your proof
rape
of that
in
is
some
what?
way. You just said that
What's
if a
your
child
proof of
feels
that?
seen by this story.
That's why I'm happy that people will no longer be subject to those types of opinions.
I agree. I absolutely agree. That is asinine of Joy Reid to defend such debauchery in children's books. Now, this should be an adult book, not a children's book. Miss me with all of that. But that's what you get. Again, I'm not stating that immigrants are bad, but some of them who have been put in position, put in place, and lifted to be in front of us all to influence and push propaganda and speak to our subconscious. So you not secretly, but subconsciously are accepting behavior that you normally wouldn't do because it's somebody that seems to look like you and hold the same values. Absolutely not. Not for Black Americans. I know we're not a monolith. I'm speaking for a very large population of us. We don't agree with none of that mess. That is absolutely outside of our mind frame, okay? Outside of our mind frame. Let me move on. Trump announced 25% tariffs on EU imports, including automobiles as well. And his reason is leveling the playing field in trade relations. But the EU has already threatened retaliation, which could spark a new trade war. And the only reason why Donald Trump is doing things of this nature is because we have always been given an unfair deal by all these other countries. Our tariffs to them used to be around 2.5%, but their tariffs to us is 20%. So he's only returning the favor. So my question, family, is will these tariffs help U.S. industries or will they backfire? I want you guys to let me know. Leave that down in the comment section. Thank you for joining me here this morning. Please tune in this evening. Thank you. You guys have a great and wonderful day. This is Blacklogic.